This week's episode is on haunted bridges. Have you ever heard of a haunted bridge? Have you ever heard of a haunted bridge? Have any of you guys ever heard of a haunted bridge? Have either of you guys ever heard of a haunted bridge? Have you ever heard of a haunted bridge? Have you guys ever heard of a haunted bridge? Have you ever heard of a haunted bridge?
Welcome, everybody, to our Sunday night show of Global Strangeness. We are three strangers who come together to share our love of the paranormal and spooky stuff, creepy things. This evening, I'm Debra, and we have Scott and we have Jeremy, as per usual. This week we decided we were going to be talking about haunted bridges, which is kind of cool. So I wanted to find a Canadian story, so I did find, there are a few, but I found one that's got some history behind it. So this one is, it's called the Bailey Bridge. And the history behind it, so in 1954 in Toronto, it was hit by Hurricane Hazel, and it produced devastating floods all along the tributaries of Lake Ontario. So there's tons of little tributaries and little creeks and rivers, and it flooded everything, and it actually cut off communities. It was, it's quite a big deal because some communities, they couldn't get any food or supplies or anything to them. It's quite devastating. And so, and it included the Rouge River in Scarborough. So they, for a quick solution, they brought in the 2nd Field Engineer Regiment of the Canadian Military Engineers. And they brought these guys in because they had a lot of experience in building what's called the Bailey Bridge during World War II. And so Bailey bridges are basically prefabricated trusses and bridges that can be constructed really, really quick. And they use these in the war to, maneuver the troops around really quick. So this was actually really effective at getting these bridges built really quickly so that these communities could get, supplies and everything. They could be connected again. So they ended up, the one actually going over the Rouge River, they managed to build it in like 3 days. And so it was like this point of pride in the community because it reconnected all these outlying communities. And everybody's like, super stoked about this bridge until apparently the story goes that there was a little girl and she was crossing the bridge and she was going to her own birthday party. She was on her way home to her own birthday party and she was murdered. So then the bridge became very famously known for other things. So, and even to this day, like they're still saying that there's hauntings and things going on. But apparently, if you go over the bridge, you can actually start singing happy birthday and it will get her to respond. So if you get halfway through and you start singing happy birthday, or some people say even if you say happy birthday candy or something like that, it actually starts the haunting. Like you can get her to respond, and what she does, it's like a blood curdling shrieking scream and some cold air, and it's terrifying. So people swear by that, but also even if you're like just walking by and you don't want to, you're not trying to induce her temper, you can still send somebody following you. People say all the time that they hear footsteps. And if you slow down or you stop, the footsteps still continue and you look back and there's nobody there, but you can hear those footsteps coming across the bridge after you. So kind of scary, and don't think that just because you're in a car, you're going to get away, because apparently the cars will break down on the bridge. Some like completely, they just kind of have problems over the bridge, but some cars break down, like literally die as they're rolling onto the bridge, complete breakdown, and then you have to get out of the car. And then she'll come and do the ear-piercing screech. I couldn't find any documentation of the actual murder. I couldn't find any sort of source to back that up, any stories or newspaper or anything. But that is what the legend is. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Is this the ghost?
That's what they, that's what they say. I was trying to look what they're actually looking at when they're seen it, because it's a little girl, right?
Yeah, my thing.
So I think like
blurry.
Yeah, like it kind of looks like a little girl maybe standing on that concrete thing. I was thinking, but
yeah, this probably too. I screenshotted this link, so the picture.
Yeah.
So it might not be at the same quality, and God knows how many times it's been screenshot.
Yeah, and even in the original, like I was kind of like, okay, but anyways, that's apparently somebody took that photo and thought that was an actual picture of the little girl. So, yeah, that is the story of the Bailey Bridge. And kind of interesting side note, this is the bridge that very close to this area. There's also train tracks, and it's one of those, we were talking about how there's always those local legends about the train tracks, and your car will stop over the train tracks and then ghostly hands will help push you over. There's a train track that's notorious for that. And there's also a little church. It's a tiny little church. This is a very old area and heavily wooded. And there is, about, 2 minutes away from that, there's a little church with a graveyard that's also supposed to be heavily haunted. So this whole area has, ghost stories and some history to it. Older area.
Have you lived there your whole life? Is that like stuff you heard when you were a kid?
Well, no. So this is in Ontario. So I'm in a different province, quite far away, but yeah. Yeah. So anyways, and then the next bridge that I found that I thought was kind of interesting story is Emiley's Bridge, and that's in Stowe, Vermont. And it was built in 1844. And it's only like 50 feet long, but it's so cute. It's one of those covered bridges, which I love those things. They're so spooky. I always think of what's that cartoon, the Headless Horseman?
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't
always
think I've
of
ever been through one.
Yeah, no, I haven't either, but I think they're like super cool.
Yeah.
So anyways,
I have a
have
lot
you?
of them.
Spooky?
Are they out there?
Yeah. I would
Yeah,
think
there's
they're
a
all
lot-
haunted, every single one.
No.
There are a lot
Except
of
the
them where
ones
you're
from the bridges of Madison County, because that was a love story, right? So
Usually the reason most of these are haunted is because their love story's gone bad.
Yeah.
well,
Found a lot of
speaking
that.
of which, this is Emiley's Bridge, and so like I said, it's only like a 50-foot bridge. It's not very long, not very big, and it's constructed all of wood, which over time it's gotten pretty raggedy looking, obviously aged with weather and all that good stuff. So the story goes, Emiley was a young woman, and she was planning on eloping with her love, and the plan was to meet at this bridge, and he never showed up, and she was completely in despair. And so apparently she went back and found what she needed, and she came back and she hung herself from the rafters inside the little bridge.
Oh.
Yeah. And so, it's a sad story, and she's like the sweet girl, apparently the sweet, gentle girl until now. Because apparently Emiley in the afterlife is not the same as Emiley before. She's not quite the same. Because now she's vengeful, and I guess she's vengeful when she's full of long fingernails. And apparently when you're driving your car through there, she will claw the side of your cars and actually scratch the paint. And they said it's like similar, like the werewolf stories or whatever, like it is, paint scratched. So she's got some nails. And when people are going by, like just walking, pedestrians or whatever, she'll like scratch up and claw up your back. So she's out for she's pissed. And I thought it was
mainly
funny.
men?
No, it's anybody.
Oh,
And it's so weird because the one person who's never received her wrath was the guy who did the the runaway groom. Like so she just takes it all out on the innocent people that are passing by the bridge. So apparently she's pretty scary. So,
sometimes you have enough of people, we all feel like that eventually.
I mean, I guess, but I mean, go after the goodbye Joe guy, the guy who actually did it to you. So, anyways, yeah. And I guess there is like still recent stories and stuff like this. This is still going on. So,
Okay.
yeah. So that is my conclusion of my bridges. What did you guys find?
You want to go first, Jeremy, or you want me to go? I got close.
You can go first, but why don't you show one of your videos first?
Okay, before I do that, I want to do a review on this. Don't buy it.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Pumpkin
either.
chocolate chip. Pretty gross. Pretty thick. Okay, let me find which ones we are doing. Well, here, let me start the screen share. And I gotta do the sound share thing. Okay. Let me move you guys out of the way here. And we got to full clips. So I got which one? Those are the Dog Man. There were a couple good ones. Okay, these people were dressed like witches at the witching bridge.
Nice.
Rolling. Okay, so we got Halloween coming up. This week's episode is on haunted bridges. That's why we're creeping around this bridge right now. Have you guys ever heard of a haunted bridge?
No.
Neither have I.
Maybe Narrows Bridge in Tacoma, Washington. You ever heard of that?
I haven't. No, I'm the skeptic on the show. So,
Oh.
Ah.
have you guys heard anything else haunted
Around here?
around here? Yeah.
No. Tell us.
I have. I'm the skeptic, man. It's up to you guys.
Haunted, yes. Rio Grande.
How far away is that from us, and what's it haunted?
Probably 15 minutes. It's an old train station. I think it's abandoned now. Like, you're not allowed to go there.
Okay. And then last question: what's your favorite scary movie?
I have to think on that. Maybe Halloween.
The first one.
Yeah,
A lot of Halloweens.
Mine's probably A Nightmare on Elm Street.
that's a good one.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. I hope you have a good Halloween. Thank you for doing it. Yeah, this week, a lot of rejection. A lot of rejection this week. But let me get for Jeremy one of the Goat Man videos. So that one was by a bridge, and then I'll show you the one that was. It was by the haunted bridge story I told you about when we did the I don't remember what episode it was, but where my son and I were fishing.
Oh, yeah.
So this is the bridge before the one that we were assaulted by a demon. There they are. Okay, so we're coming up on Halloween. We're doing this week's episode on haunted bridges. Have either of you guys ever heard of a haunted bridge?
I have not.
You haven't?
Isn't there like that Goat Man haunted bridge? That's the only one I've ever heard of.
Goat Man. We've done a lot of the Frog Mans, Dog Mans. Last week was Dog Man. The other person on the podcast will be pretty happy about that. What have you guys heard of, like haunted, paranormal wise?
I mean, apart from like haunted houses and churches and things like that, nothing really. I mean, my wife's more into the paranormal than I am, so.
You?
I'm gonna have to say about the same. Yeah, just kind of haunted houses around the area, or like, yeah, just kind of haunted houses around the area, stuff like that. Basic things.
Okay, and then that pretty much went into what's your favorite scary movie type deal. Let me get this screen back up and going.
Was that not his wife?
No, that was his wife.
Because I mean, when he said like, "Oh, my wife's more into paranormal," I expected her to be like, "Yeah, I know about this and this and this." I'm like, "Is that not your wife? Like, what the hell?"
That's what I thought too, actually.
I
Yeah.
think they might have been of the LDS Catholic Church. So, you know, like, did you guys know any like real hardcore? The Mormons were especially, they weren't allowed to watch like Harry Potter even.
Yeah.
Did you know kids like that growing up?
No, there was no Mormons in New York.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Well, actually, no, not true, not
Amish
true.
and-
Woodcrest people. They're a branch of Amish or something like that. There's like two communities around where I lived. One was like 15 minutes from my house, not even, and one was like a half hour or so. And I don't think they weren't allowed to have TVs or any electronics.
Yeah, we have Hutterites, so it's similar to the Amish people. It's colonies like that. And they, no TVs, no phones, that kind of stuff. So,
But they make good food and they make amazing furniture. So
like the best pies and stuff at the market's like the best baking ever.
See, I'm
I
a
mean,
little
the-
biased. I got a plum from the Amish once, and the thing was loaded with worms. That was the last time I bought anything from the Amish.
no, I mean, the wooden, you would love the wooden furniture they make up in New York. I mean, the stuff they make, they sell for thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, they got the Quakers, I think, in like Washington, Oregon area. But when we were in Pennsylvania, you'd see all the Amish driving by, especially up in like Lancaster, Pennsylvania. driving
What,
their
in
little
the-
buggies.
I was gonna say in the horse and buggies.
Yeah. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. I think like Hutterites, they drive vehicles. Mennonites drive vehicles, but Amish, yeah, they don't even actually drive, do they?
Yeah, no. And then you see all the ones that are like, they get that Rumschnickel or whatever when they're 16. So they get to wear colors and, you know, a lot of them go out and party and stuff. The Mormons actually do a kind of a similar thing. It's just not as like set in stone as that is.
Yeah,
Oh.
and Mormons are more in just regular communities too, aren't they? Like they just have a church within the city, or
Yeah.
is there areas where it's just Mormons and they stay?
Well,
Well, Salt
themselves?
Lake, yeah.
I mean,
Okay,
yeah,
I don't know.
Utah is mainly Mormons, but I mean,
Mm.
there's what do they call themselves? They're not called Mormon churches. They're called
LDS,
The Latter-day Saint. or
Latter-day
whatever?
Saints.
yeah. Oh, they're everywhere. I mean, I had those churches all around me growing up. Like I still have a picture where one is. But yeah, I looked it up. Apparently, the Woodcrest people are the oldest Bruderhof community in the United States, wherever the hell the Bruderhofs are.
Okay. Yeah, the guy I joined the carnival with, he was actually Mormon. So he had to go to like Mormon school before school and do all that crazy crap. But then like when he turned 16, his parents just sort of let him discover the world.
Hmm.
And
That'd be
didn't
so
end
wild to
well.
be so sheltered and then just so, that'd be shell shock.
His mom was the nicest lady in the world. That was the dude that had the Panhandle murder trial, and his mom like called me, and that was just like one of the funniest conversations I'd ever. But it was pretty funny. Okay,
No,
Bellamy Bridge.
They're
Uh,
Christians, apparently, though, the Bruderhof. They're a large international Christian community with over 3,000 people living on 5 continents.
5 continents. Yeah, I know a lot, like with the Mormons, the FLDS. So those are the fundamental, like the ones who still believe they can have many wives and everything.
Right.
A lot of them went to Mexico, like Mitt Romney. He was from a freaking FLDS sect.
Yeah, well, him in his special underwear.
Yeah. Well, if you want to join in, you have to wear the special underwear. You know, you can't take that stuff off.
You can't just tell him every pair of underwear I wear is special.
It's not going to save you from a car crash, my friend.
I don't know about that, but we'll see.
Okay, let me get my thing. Well, here, let's share the screen. So the first one I'm doing is the Bellamy Bridge. I mean, we're doing a lot of stuff. Have you guys ever heard of the Bellamy Bridge? I'd never heard of it before.
No, I haven't. I didn't even come across that even when I was researching.
Okay, so this is the bridge. This is in Florida. That was the last place we lived. So I wanted
That's
to do
pretty.
that one. Let me get to the other one here.
There's
Bellamy
There's
Bridge.
gators. There's gators in that water.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. So this is the one looking down. So the Bellamy Bridge is one of the oldest standing bridges in Florida, and it is the oldest truss bridge in the state. The land the bridge was purchased by Dr. Edward C. Bellamy in 1836, and he ran the Terrebonne plantation. They farmed like sugar, rice, and cotton, and the bridge wasn't actually constructed until 1851, and then it would be rebuilt 2 additional times in wood, and then in 1914 they would build that steel structure that you see there. In 2012 they opened the Bellamy Bridge Heritage Trail, so that's when people started going to visit. Now, for historical purposes, the bridge isn't like, it was around during the Civil War and they had people guarding it, but there was never any action from the Civil War at this bridge. But the story goes on where it gets its reputation. There was a lady named Elizabeth Bellamy, and her and her husband Samuel, on their wedding night, she went upstairs to take a nap, like right after the service, and it's not funny. She accidentally fell asleep next to a candle, and a candle lit her wedding dress on fire. And then she ran down the stairs, like engulfed in flames. and she would die from her wounds, but the last thing she told her husband was, "I will love you always and forever. Never will I leave you." So Samuel ended up becoming a depressed alcoholic. He never remarried, and then he would slit his own throat like 3 years afterwards, and they had to bury him in an unmarked grave due to religious reasons. So the story from that aspect goes that she's out there looking for her husband, right? And this isn't the better story, but my wife found some stuff that's pretty cool. The actual story, and this, like, I tried to look for the factual part of this story, and I mean, I found a guy who said the factual part of the story is that Elizabeth, her husband, and her child caught malaria, and then Elizabeth died. 18 months later, her son died, or no, her 18-month-old son died 7 days after her. And then a few years later after that, the husband slit his throat 3 days after Christmas. So the whole husband killing himself after his wife died thing remains the same. And, you know, people say that they can see the ghost out there, but there was no proof on either the lore of the story or the factual story. But then my wife found out that there was a lady with the same name that lived in the same area that was living on a plantation that was born the exact same day this lady was supposed to die, this lady with the same name, and she ended up becoming an author. So there might have been, she might have just fabricated this story for her author career, and somehow it made it in newspapers and stuff. So I don't.
Clever, if she did, if that's what it was.
I mean, that's highly suspect, right? The same exact name in the same area, both of them working on a plantation. I guess too, in some of her books, her husband ran a moss farm, and then in her books, she would write about the character, like the wife's husband was a moss farmer. So she did have some like similarity in her stories to her real life.
So she was just working the PR for her book.
She was working the PR, but like my wife looked that up, but I did find a picture of her. That's who she is. So I don't know if this was the lady that died in 1837 or the lady that was born in 1837.
Interesting.
Did they have cameras in 1837? Like they would have, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like the first black and white stand ones that like you see like the old pictures of cowboys and stuff with.
Well, even in the 1950s, they still didn't have color
Yeah.
films. So I mean, it could go either way in that case.
I mean, you could, I mean, the dress is, I don't know, it's kind of, that's a hard one to tell by too, right?
Yeah, crazy Florida
It's
people.
like
It kind of looks like a graduation thing.
That's
or
what I was
something.
thinking, yeah. But the hair is very old fashioned. So yeah, interesting.
It does look more like a 1930s hairdo than a like a 50s hairdo, right? I mean, they were
Yeah.
putting their hair more up in like a
Yeah, yeah.
weird ways. Well, that one was just where I was last. Like I said, I couldn't find one in Utah, so I did that one. The next one has a little bit more meat to the story. So this is the Bostian's Bridge. Let me pull up the picture of that. So this is the Bostian's Bridge. So in western North Carolina, this bridge sits about 75 feet high. It was constructed in 1858, and it crosses the Third Creek from the Statesville, or Third Creek west of Statesville, North Carolina. And this is actually factual. At 3 a.m. on August 27th, 1891, the train was on its way to Danville. It had jumped its track and fell into the creek. So most of the people on the train, obviously it's 3 a.m., they were asleep. But it resulted in over 23 deaths and a ton of injuries. So right after the train crashed down into the creek, there were 2 passengers that like escaped the wreckage, and they were able to walk into the nearest town and get help. There was no like for sure reason why this train got off the track, but they were thinking that because of how much rain there was at the time, and the wood rot, that the train actually split, and then that caused it to decouple. But I was able to find some like historical stuff here. So this is the, what are we at? These are all the people that died. I got out of a newspaper clipping from that train crash. And then this goes in, like reading through all the newspapers kind of went against the story, because there was thought that people had actually stolen wood from the tracks, and they had, let's Bailey, oh, here we go. So they actually had this reward of $10,000. And I mean, this is back in 1891. So $10,000. This company will pay $10,000 for the arrest and conviction of the person or persons who removed the rail from the track of the Western North Carolina Railroad near Bostian's Bridge, Iredell County, North Carolina, on the night of Wednesday, August 26th, 1891. So that's a lot of money back then. But
Yeah, that'd be like at least 500 grand today.
yeah.
So did they find anyone responsible, or was that just a bogus story?
Well, no. These are actually newspaper clippings from the Library of Congress, and I was not able to read. They had 14 pages at like 12 pages each on this train wreck. So I got through like 10 articles, but I did this one today. I just didn't have the time to read them all. But going into like the first ghost story for the bridge, let me pop up the bridge here real quick. Bostian Bridge. So the first ghost story didn't actually happen until 50 years after the crash. It was in 1941. The story starts off, a man and a woman are driving near the bridge when all of a sudden their tire popped. And the man went and walked into town while the woman sat with the car. And then after sitting there for a while, she heard a train coming down the track. She saw the light, the trees were shaking. And then she saw it approach the bridge. And then the train derailed and fell into the creek. The woman ran to the side of the ledge and watched as it was, she stated that it was like an older wooden train. It was on fire, that most of the people were dead, and there were a bunch of people down there like screaming in agony. And then eventually she saw a car coming back. It turned out to be her husband with like the local mechanic. And then she tried to explain to them, brought them to the edge of the ridge, and there was nothing there. So they fixed the tire, started driving into town, and then she kept nagging him to stop at the train station so she could see if there was like a bridge accident. And then the ticket booth dude told him like, no, there was no accident today. But funny you should say that, because 50 years ago on this night, there was a train accident. So it happened the same exact night at the same time. And I couldn't find the names of the woman or any of that, but I mean, it was a pretty frequent story. So maybe it could happen. Nowadays, there's still people who claim that they have seen the train ride the bridge every year at the same time, same thing. But on August 27th, 2010, there was a group of 12 amateur paranormal investigators who waited for the train on the night. And at 2:47 a.m., they saw a light heading up the rail toward them. So as it got closer, like really close, they realized that it wasn't a ghost train, it was a real train. And yeah, no, they all tried to jump off the bridge. 2 of them were injured, and then 29-year-old Christopher Kaiser was able to push his girlfriend off the track to safety and tell her one more time that he loved her, and then he got hit by the train and died. So,
Oh my gosh.
and that's for sure a real story.
So they went out to see the ghost train and they didn't take into consideration the real train schedule.
Might be coming. Yeah, no.
Wow. Oof.
But yeah, no, there were 12 of them, amateur paranormal investigators, and one of them might be still haunting the train with the people from way back when.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's sad.
That was a pretty sad story. But those are my 2.
All right. You want to show another video before I go to mine, or?
If you guys want to watch another video, that's up to you.
Sure, throw
we
one
got,
up.
we got time.
Okay, let me close out all this stuff. Jeez, I got a lot of crap opened up here. Okay, hold on. Okay, so I guess the author was born in 37, my wife said. So it was after the lady had died. Let's get a video going here. Let's see how many people are in. Got 2 people in right now. Share screen. So I did get one of a South African dude who thought I was talking about people with superpowers. Do you want to watch that, or do you want to watch the 3 goth kids?
Oh, goth kids all day.
Okay, let me see if I can find here.
Hours. That's hilarious.
Okay, so we got Halloween coming up. This week's episode, we're doing haunted bridges. Have any of you guys ever heard of a haunted bridge?
Haunted bridge? I've heard like of a bridge haunted by a goat man before.
Okay, we got Goat Man yesterday. What about you?
I've heard a couple stories about haunted bridges.
Okay. You want to jump in?
Sure. I've never heard of a haunted bridge before.
You coming in? Nah, he's passing. Okay, do you guys believe in the supernatural?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What supernatural do you believe in the most?
Spirits, ghosts.
Okay.
Yeah, the same thing as him.
Yeah, pretty
Same
much the
thing?
same.
Okay, and we got one more question. With Halloween coming up, what's your favorite scary movie?
I'm gonna need a sec on that one.
Okay.
Probably Halloween.
The first one? Another
Yeah.
Halloween.
Yeah. I liked Trick or Treat.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
That's mine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Trick or Treat. That one's really good too. I like
Okay,
that.
so we got 2 on Trick or Treat. Thank you guys.
Awesome. Thank
You guys have a good day. So funny story about that video. I have my son recording me, and he accidentally deleted it. And like, I mean, there was so much rejection for this episode, and we weren't getting anything. And finally, like, he told me that he deleted it. We thought he just didn't record it, or he recorded it on top of something else, checking all that. But it was in the trash bin, and I was able to restore it. So
Oh, I thought you were going to say you went back and reenacted it with the same people.
no, we saw him again, but yeah, I thought that'd be cheesy.
That was a tall kid. Like he made you look like a midget almost. Like Jesus.
I'm only 5'1".
Okay, well, I'm not far off.
Just joking. Yeah, no,
Well,
he was
compared to-
pretty tall.
Compared to him, I could believe it. That's how tall he is. But
These like being in Utah, man, these people are from Scandinavia or something. Like they are all big ass people. Like it's crazy. I'm from
They're North
Southern
aliens.
California, where like a lot of the Hispanic kids and us are all like, 5'10".
I'm only
Uh,
5 feet for real, so I'd be miniature there.
Yeah, no, he was like a good, but they get
Hey,
bigger.
hey, Scott, you want to bring up the Eunice Williams Covered Bridge picture?
Yeah, Eunice. Let me share the old. Did you guys hear the
Oop.
volume? Okay, I got
Yeah.
I got share sound still checked. Okay, what do we got here? Those are the clips. Eunice, Jeremy. There we go.
So this bridge, though, I don't think I've been over it. It's only like a half hour away from my, actually no, like an hour away from my house. Greenfield. It's in Greenfield, Massachusetts, which is like an hour away from my house. And this dates back to the 1700s. On February 29th, 1704, 300 warriors from the French army and their allies from the Abenaki and Mohawk tribes crept into Deerfield, which is right next to Greenfield. The French and British were fighting Queen Anne's War for control of the continent. All of a sudden, this little New England town had all its houses plundered and burned, livestock were killed, 56 residents murdered, and 112 captured. The 112 would spend the next few months hiking to Canada. Among them were Reverend John Williams, 5 of his 7 children, and his wife Eunice, or Eunice, however you say it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Eunice, I think it's Eunice. Eunice, though, was in no shape to make the trek to Canada. She had given birth just the day before. The baby did not survive the attack. Eunice collapsed while the group was crossing the Green River, the first obstacle on the way to Canada. The warriors were instructed to strike down anyone unable to keep up, and falling on the first leg of the trip put her in this category. She was struck down by tomahawk not far from her husband and surviving children. Eventually, John and 4 of the 5 children reunited and returned. One child, the young girl named after her mother, chose to stay with the natives. Gotta love those girls.
It was a hard life back then, huh?
Eunice replaced one of the girls in their tribe who had died of smallpox. She was loved and taken care of by her new tribe, and took on the name Marguerite Cannon-Stenhowie. She abandoned her English language, was baptized Catholic, and married a native man. Even after her brothers and father made repeated attempts to convince her to come back home, she still refused. Some say that Mrs. Williams haunts the river by the bridge in remembrance of the violent death she faced. Struck down by tomahawk in icy waters while her family watched, just hours after her newborn and second youngest were torn from her arms and killed. Others say that she appears to passerbys whom she mistakes for her family. After all these years, perhaps she still waits for them to come back for her. Others say it is haunted by the fate of her daughter, the one who bore her very name and who abandoned her family and the religion her family valued so much. Locals claim to have spotted Eunice near the waters under the bridge and floating around a nearby dam. She'll appear on the bridge too, but only under the right conditions. If you are driving on the bridge on a clear moonless night, turn your headlights off and honk your horn. You may catch yourself a glimpse of her. It's been rebuilt and renovated a lot of times over the years. It was rebuilt in 1972 after a fire destroyed the original, which was built in the 1870s. And it was closed to traffic in 2002 because of natural wear in the structure. Hurricane Irene took a major toll on it in 2011, and it was closed to foot traffic after that. In November of 2014, after substantial renovations, it was reopened to both vehicle and foot traffic. So
I was gonna say it looks nice and new for a haunted bridge, but yeah, that makes sense.
How close is this bridge to the ocean?
You're talking Greenfield, Massachusetts. So you're going west towards New York, and towards well, you're kind of bordering New Hampshire and Vermont. But
is this a waterfall?
It's a waterfall from the dam, I believe, above there.
Okay. That was kind of.
Oh, wait till we get to my last one. It's got a huge waterfall, but you can bring up Sachs Covered Bridge.
Sachs Covered. There we go. That's a pretty bridge.
That's pretty, yeah.
Yeah, considered one of the most beautiful sites in Pennsylvania. It has stood proudly on Waterworks Road since 1852. 11 years after it was built during the Civil War, The Union and Confederate armies would march across the bridge. The Confederate army passed through the picturesque bridge as a retreat after the Battle of Gettysburg. Local legend tells a tale of 3 Confederate deserters who, after being caught by their superiors, were hanged from the covered bridge. Another story, though, says that 3 soldiers were in fact Confederate spies, and when Union troops uncovered the truth, they hung them as punishment. So, either way, 3 men got hung on this bridge. The spirits are said to remain on the bridge, making it one of the most haunted places in Pennsylvania. It constantly has ghost hunters and visitors tell of odd occurrences. Some claim to breathe in the strong scent of cigar smoke, except no one else is around. Others tell of hearing cannons being fired in the distance and feeling a tap on their shoulder, and turning around to find no one there. And apparently they also report hearing voices when no one is around as well. So that's the story of that bridge.
Pennsylvania's haunted as fuck, dude.
Well, anything near Gettysburg, yeah.
I saw The Sixth Sense in downtown Philly. Whew. A little kid.
Yeah. That movie doesn't have the same effect when you watch for the first time and like 20 years later and you know what happens at the end.
You didn't see it when it was out?
I was
Like
a little
in theater?
kid, man.
Oh man, that was like one of the only tapes I had. Like when I was a teenager, I watched that a million times.
It came out in like 96, right? Or something like that, 99.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
remember, yeah.
I was younger. We were in Pennsylvania. I had to be like 13 or 11.
No, I mean, yeah, I would have been like 8 to 11, but still, my parents would have never let me watch that. My parents probably wouldn't even really watch that, so I don't know.
My parents had watched all the adult movies. That was movie night Friday when you'd rent them from the grocery store.
And they'd let you watch?
Yeah.
That's how I was with my own kids. Even I'd have scary. I'm like, yeah, now go to bed now. Sweet dreams.
Yeah. Well, you said you freaked out from The Exorcist, right?
I wasn't allowed to watch that, but I watched that like through a crack in the door, and yeah, that terrified me.
Oh God, I just watched that the other day for all the way through for the first time, like the full watching, and it was so boring, so
Are you
freaking
kidding
boring.
me? I just watched that in VR, dude. That was like awesome. We were
All right,
all in
maybe
there throwing popcorn at each other.
No, I mean in VR maybe, but like when you're just sitting there watching it, like it's so stupid. Like, I mean, I could see how people back then who were like hardcore religious could be like really like scared of it, but like
Yeah.
I like the Scary Movie 2 version better, but
Oh man, dude, that movie was groundbreaking. Like,
All I know is it traumatized me. I was a little kid and Catholic, and it was traumatizing. I believed it was terrifying.
It still holds water.
Yeah.
We should save that for our Halloween episode, though.
And wasn't there kind of a curse around that movie set too? Like there was actual.
Yeah, there's a lot. That's one of the many movies. There's a curse around the set and the people that worked on it.
Yeah.
I know the not The Exorcist, the Poltergeist. That one, like, there was
Yes.
crazy crap going.
Oh yeah, Exorcist too. I think most people who worked on it died shortly after, but I'm not sure. But speaking of dying after doing a religious movie, Scott, bring up The Devil's Bridge.
Got it up, buddy. You should see it, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I saw it. I totally went past my head, but which is in Ceredigion, Wales. I had to go international. I had to go international because I tried to search for any bridge I could find that had like a demon related to it or the devil or something because I knew there had to be one. I'm surprised I couldn't find any in the United States, but I couldn't find any in Canada either. I mean,
That's a crazy looking bridge.
It's gorgeous. The devil picked a really nice bridge.
Hell yeah! Like, what's this stuff going on? Like, there's a bridge underneath the bridge.
Like it's been built a couple times.
I'll tell you. There's 2 lower layers of stacked arch bridges below the main bridge, and it was the heritage of those lower layers that 11th century monks of Strata, Florida. I guess there's a Florida near Wales. They were said to have built the lowest and oldest layer.
Okay, would that be down like here? Is there a passage you
I
think?
yeah, I think
Let's see if we can zoom
think it's
in.
I think it's it right there where your hand is.
Yeah, like right there, walk through, huh?
No, I think up where you just were. All the vine covered part. I think that was the original oldest part.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, I
There might
see
be like
this one. Oh, okay,
there
I
might be
see
like
this one,
yeah,
and then we
and then
got
the bridge.
the straight
The
one.
bridge. Yeah, and it was given the name of the falls, the waterfall that's near it, Minack, which I should have sent you a picture of that too, because that's gorgeous. But we weren't talking about waterfalls, so I wasn't going to send a picture of that. And the word Minack, Mynach, in Welsh means monk. So Minack Falls or Rhaeadir Minack was literally the monk falls.
Okay.
And there's a sign near the waterfall walk entrance telling the story of an alternate origin of the bridge. It told how the devil had built the bridge to help an old woman get back her runaway cow on the other side of the gorge. In exchange for the cow, the devil got to keep the first living thing to go across the new bridge. When the lady was about to go across, she pulled out a piece of bread and threw it towards the cow so her dog would go after it.
Ugh.
And thus the devil ended up with the soul of her farm dog. Disgusted with being outwitted by the old lady, the devil left Wales never to be seen from again.
Well, he gives up pretty easy.
Oh, if you trick the devil, you usually feel pretty ashamed. Just ask the guy who was in the fiddle battle with him.
Well,
I was just thinking that. I was just thinking that.
Well, like the story of Jack, fuck, what's his name? What jack-o'-lanterns are based off of? Scary Jack? Stingy Jack.
Oh,
Stingy Jack.
yeah, Stingy Jack. Yeah, I know that story. Yeah.
We should
But-
do a Trick to the Devil episode.
Yeah.
Maybe. Like,
Well-
I don't know how many times the devil's been tricked.
I mean, quite a bit if you go back to the Bible, but I mean, the whole freaking there's a whole thing between him and him and Jesus, like proving that him and God, like proving that like
Job.
people will do things. Yeah.
This bridge, like, is anybody else noticing how this one looks crooked?
Well,
Right here?
it's
This one's like sticking out. That one's sort of
It's
going in.
settled down.
it's over 1,000 years old, man. Like, what do you expect?
Well, come on, dude. That's no excuse for perfection. And they
And
got
we're
like
still-
this thing hanging off over here.
He's like mad at the monks' workmanship there.
Jeez. You know, maybe
You're
if they
gonna-
were Islamists, this would have been built a little better. Like,
Yeah.
look at these straight angles. Like, you got this one going this way, and then this one's like, meow.
Damn free labor. They just can't get good work.
I know. What the hell?
God wasn't leading their hand, but
Oh my.
so who picked cover bridges anyway? I've been trying to think of it the whole show. But
That was
I
me.
want to say, all right, so that means it's back to Deborah's pick.
What are we doing?
Oh. Well, what if we did something like curses, like when, they dig up a tomb in Egypt or whatever, and a curse comes out and everyone on the site dies, or a movie set or something like that.
No, that could be
curses,
cool.
curses be a good topic for countdown to Halloween.
Yeah, we got to think. How am I going to ask people that question?
Ask them if they
People
believe in
look at-
curses.
I guess.
Ask them if they would go in, if they're so they have a mummy and it's got golden eyeballs or something. Would you pluck them? Like would you disturb it?
I think we might have to start diving into some conspiracy after Halloween. Those
Right?
are
Yeah.
a lot easier to ask, Do you believe there was only one shooter in the Kennedy
Yeah.
assassination?
I just talked to someone on my show about that. His episode will be dropping in November.
Okay. Yeah,
we did a sec. He wanted to talk about the JFK shootings. I was like, okay, I'm down for it.
Yeah,
But
no. The
it got deep.
going to ask people about Dogman and like, have you ever heard of a haunted bridge?
Well, it's
Uh,
okay.
you-
This month it's fine. You can ask all kinds of these kinds of questions.
I'm hoping
And
next week's not as much rejection. So
it shouldn't be. I mean, people believe in curses a lot more than they believe in haunted bridges.
I'm gonna try downtown Salt Lake this week. So See how that goes.
Oh, ask the Mormons. They believe in curses.
Well, Salt Lake County, there's not a lot of Mormons. So a lot of us Californians moved in here. A lot of people like resented what their parents made them grow up through. But if you get into Utah County, like where I go fishing, there is a lot of Mormons. And then when you go to the county after that, that's where they're like pretty strict.
Yeah, my one of my college professors was on an RV trip, he said, and he was in Utah, and they just stopped up on the side of the road and were like eating their lunch in the RV. And like this guy came knocking on their door. He's like, "You guys have to move on." And then like a cop came along next and like told him the same thing, and like the cop wouldn't leave until they actually started driving away.
Why? Like they're wow.
When my wife and I
They're that
first moved
secretive?
here, they would ask us where we were from. And we're both, you know, white people, just like most of the Mormons are. And it's like, California? Why does that matter?
So a hard community to move into. Or being the new kid on the block.
Well, yeah, no, I don't know if we have, I mean, they don't sound that much different than California. It's not like going from like California to the South, you know,
Yeah.
where there's like a huge dialect difference. But
Well, I wouldn't want to be in the South right now, that's for sure.
yeah, my parents are actually right in the area that got hit.
Oh wow. Are they okay?
Yeah, no, they got a bunch of shit smashed up their house, but they were in Punta Gorda, so they were 12 feet above sea level, and I guess it only got to 9, so their house didn't get flooded. But
I've seen some crazy stuff on Facebook, like sharks in the streets.
in the street, yeah, I love that.
And alligators in the house, and yeah.
Yeah, I shared a picture of an alligator in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I haven't seen the sharks on the streets though. That's pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That'd
there
be
was like a
terrifying.
6-foot black tip I saw, just like right in the street. I think it was in Fort Myers. It was either Fort
I can believe
Myers
it.
or Port Charlotte, but
You think of how much wildlife and whatever is displaced and, you know, dies in those situations as well. But I don't know, a shark swimming by, that'd freak me out for sure. But
I was telling my parents, like when I was a kid and you'd see the videos of like after a hurricane, like it would always be families crying and like just total despair and heartbreak. But now like you go on TikTok and I saw a video of a dude like floating around in his house and his couch is floating around. He's like, I'm having a pool party. Where everybody at?
oh,
It's
I
like,
mean, I guess if there's nothing left, you may as well do a little humor.
yeah, no, it's crazy how that changed. Everybody wants to get their 5 minutes of fame.
Yeah. But it is, I mean, I can't imagine your whole house just, you know, gone, wiped out,
Yeah.
you know. Scary stuff.
Yeah, they don't have power, and they're thinking they probably won't have power for a couple weeks to 3 months. So
Jesus.
Yeah.
he was
I mean,
able to
my-
get
my-
a generator, but
Yeah, that's what my brother did. He got a generator because his power's out for at least 5 days. But I had that happen in New York. We had a hurricane in New York and we lost power for like freaking a week because it tore my street up. Like it tore the street like that was the entry to my community on. Like it tore it up. So like I had to like go stay somewhere else for like a week. It
And you think like all your food, like, you know, all the food in the freezer and stuff, what do you do with that? That's long enough it's gone.
I stayed at my grandma's house. I took all the meat in the freezer and everything else that was gonna go bad, and I just had a big barbecue.
Yeah.
yeah, I talked to my parents this morning, and I guess at the like it took my dad 5 hours to get gas, and then at the grocery store, he's saying they're doing it like COVID. So like there's a big line out the door, and then they only let some people in, and then as people come out, they'll let more in.
And it's probably limited, like 2 cans you can buy at a time kind of thing, limits, right?
Yeah, right. Well, he hasn't been to the grocery store, but I would imagine like he just
Yeah.
saw the system happening. But the gas station, yeah, it was 5 hours to get gas, man. That's
You just
crazy.
think our modern houses, like, it'd almost be beneficial back in the old days where you're heating your house with wood, like you're just and storing food without electricity and stuff, like it can be less effective done by stuff like this because it's devastating to have no power for a week. That's way too long.
Yeah, 3 months. That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
But like they live in the Punta Gorda area. So I mean they're definitely fixing Fort Myers and Tampa and like these big cities first,
Yeah.
But Port Charlotte, that's right next to them. And that's one of my haunted stories. They had a laundromat. Me and my wife used to wash our laundry over in Port Charlotte, and that place was fucking spooky as hell. Like, but
Spooky
that
how
place,
like ghosts? Like
yeah, like you would see shit move and hear bangs everywhere, and like,
oh cool.
yeah, that one was pretty nuts.
Hmm.
But it's probably gone now.
So next week is curses,
Curses.
and
Yeah.
we're gonna be talking about thinner when we're talking about curses.
Thinner?
Oh, don't tell me there's a horror movie I've seen that you haven't.
I guess.
That's a Stephen King story, isn't it?
Oh, that's why. That's why.
Oh yeah, you're a Stephen King hater.
Yeah. When was it made?
Late 80s, early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure my wife will love to watch that. She's a Stephen King fan.
They should be okay to find research on, right? Because it's actual people dying after digging into the thing or whatever. It should be able to get some actual facts.
1996 it came out.
Okay. I would imagine, like, I mean, you got voodoo curses and like I think the Italians used to curse people, or the Greeks, right? Like they used to curse people too. Lots
Everybody
of
cursed
Egyptian stuff.
Yeah. Egyptians share their graves and whatever when they open those up. You shouldn't be.
The Romani. That's what Thinner's about, is the Romani cursing somebody.
Yeah, so anyways, I should be good, I think.
Okay. Well, you guys ready to end it? You want to say goodbye and I'll take us off stream? Looks like we're at 57 minutes. That's close.
Yep.
Well,
we just
goodbye,
got
enjoy
another
your week.
person jumped in right as we're leaving again.
Always.
Next
every
week,
live I do.
an hour earlier.
Yeah.
Well, have a good
right.
week, watchers.
Bye-bye.
Take it easy. Now, with Halloween coming up, what's your favorite scary movie?
About scary movies? I do not really watch scary movies.
No, none?
No.
Okay. Well, thank you, man.
No problem.
You have a good day.
You do the same.